Hotel slippers, the bane of my existence. Everyone I know has a pile of these damn things in their closet from traveling either for fun or business trips. You always remind yourself to pack a pair of your own so you don't have to open the one they provide at the hotel, but gosh darn it, it slips your mind, so you end up ripping one open to use for the duration of your stay. By the time it's time to leave, you feel bad for throwing these baddies out, so you end up packing it and taking it home with you so you don't have to add yet another thing to the landfill. But by the time you get home, you have your own pair of super comfy, super cute slippers, so why in the world would you want to wear the cheap ones from the hotel? So they end up in a box, in the closet, waiting for death. Well, I'm here to tell you to pull that box of spares out because we are giving them a major makeover. In today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways you can turn cheap hotel slippers into something cute and wearable for everyday home use. Warning, I know absolutely nothing about making shoes, so please don't take anything I do as expert advice. I'm just experimenting, learning as I go, and hoping for the best. We are starting with these. Bam. The only reason why I took these, of course, are because they're purple. Never seen hotel slippers that are purple, so I had to take them home with me. Unfortunately, they are huge. Some hotel slippers are like, they fit properly. Like nowadays, they have like 1 or 2 options, like a bigger option and a smaller option. So it's not that bad. Some of them aren't as horrible, but these only came in 1 size, which was oversized, large, too big. So if you're not up for like a big flip of your slippers, I'm gonna show you how to just take it in so it actually just fits your foot, right? So 1, it's too long, and 2, this part is a bit too big that when I'm walking around, it just kind of like flings open. So what I want to do is kind of tighten this bit up. I don't know if I want to kind of give it a couple tacks down here or tie it or give it like some darts, or maybe I just put some ribbon here and kind of scrunch it and put a bow. That could work. I'm in my bow era, so who knows? Unpick the fabric from the foam until you reach the top flappy thing. Fold up the fabric, then trace your foot onto the foam. If you're worried about it being too small, add 1 inch from your marking at the back. I'm gonna chop 1 first and see what happens because I'm pretty sure my drawing skills aren't exact, so. So I'm gonna cut a straight line just so I know where to stop and then kind of taper from 1 end down to this edge and then 1 end again down to this edge and then kind of even it out. Like that, I guess. Let's just try it on. Ugh. Now it looks too small. Does that look right? I feel like if I'm walking, it kind of looks a bit small, isn't it? It's okay, it'll fit my mother. She has puny feet. But I think that's just about right. So what I'm gonna do is just sandwich together. When you've got it to your desired size, lay the soles together like this. Trace, then cut it out. Of course, don't forget to check to make sure they're even. Trace out the sole on the bottom end of the fabric, then unpick the bias binding. Cut down the fabric like so, then pin the bias binding back on. Go to the machine and stitch that down. Okay, so I can't get this damn thing to cooperate with me because I just can't, the angle just isn't right to go into the machine with this. The foam part just keeps getting in the way. Like I would have to dismantle the entire thing just to stitch this part down. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand stitch it. If you just wanna do machine stitching, then you can separate the fabric bit from your sole. Machine stitch the bias down and then go in and machine stitch all of it down. I highly doubt I don't know, should I try stitching it through the foam just all together? That just seems so dangerous. Like, I don't know, this isn't a heavy duty machine, I don't think. Should I try it? Oh, what if I break it? Okay, if I break it, RIP. I'll just be like, oh my gosh, why did the machine break? I don't know. Okay, you know what? I'll give it a try. And if it seems a bit dangerous, like if it's sounding a little funky, we're gonna hand stitch this whole thing, okay? Okay. We got this. We're gonna go. Oh. It actually does go through nice. Let's try this. When in doubt, just go real slow. This can be bigger, so I'm gonna make them bigger stitches actually. I was at a 3.5, now I'm at a whole 5. And here we have it, a completed slipper. Should I have changed the bobbin thread to white instead of having this obvious purple? Absolutely, but since nobody's going to be looking at the bottom of my house slippers, I shall let this one go. Anyways, it's cute. It turned out perfect, so I have no complaints. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side the exact same way I just did this one. It's pretty straightforward, so I don't feel like I need to show you again how to do it. I will be back to show you the results, I guess, in like 3, 2, 1. I lied. I forgot that I said that I'd do the ribbon thing at the top, because clearly like it fits, but when I start walking, it kind of starts slipping up because the top bit is a bit too big. I think it's the opening that's a bit too big, like this arch here. So it keeps slipping. So I thought I'd add some pink ribbon, just kind of weave it through so that I can tighten, kind of scrunch this bit up. I'm gonna scrunch it this way instead of putting in darts because the angle wise, I don't know how to run this through a machine and it's not gonna look super cute. Like if I, for example, did a bit of a pleat like that, like you can kind of see it. Cause I'm all about the aesthetics. Like if it doesn't look cute, I don't want it. I want it to be nice and usable and reliable and look cute. You know what I mean? I don't want to compromise either or. I want it to be useful and adorable at the same time. So we're doing this. Cut holes about 1 inch apart along the opening edge, then feed the ribbon through on both ends, meeting in the middle. Hand tack the ribbons in place here and here. Slip them on, then tie them as tight as you need so it sits securely on your feet. This time I am actually done. Okay, these turned out exactly how I wanted them to. Fits me perfectly. It's nice and snug. I can adjust the tightness if I want so it doesn't slip off my foot as easily. So yeah, my first slipper DIY attempt was a success. Let's actually move on to the next, okay? Lego. This pair that we're gonna work on next fits me properly, like, like it's the perfect size, so I'm not gonna worry about resizing it. I'm just gonna work on making it look pretty. I have this rather stiff fabric that I think would work really well. I think if I use something too flimsy, same thing. It'll make it look kind of cheap, and I really want this to look a little bit more luxurious than what it is right now, which isn't very hard. But I think this fabric would be the best for that. I always get a lot of questions on what kind of fabric I use, and honestly, I can't answer you because I don't know. I can only really say that this is medium weight. It's not canvas, it's not silk. It's just nice. Not as hard as like curtain fabric, but if you like doubled it up, it could be. I don't know. Don't ask me questions I can't answer. I'm just here to make things look pretty. I don't know what I'm using. I'm just given scraps and I make do with what I got. So make do with whatever you have, okay? Don't go out purposely to like buy fabric to make things. Anyways, the plan. The plan is to wrap this in the blue fabric and then make a cute bow and just attach it on top, you know? Yeah, so I walk around with some bows on my feet. That's it. So first up, let's unpick this whole thing apart. Okay, so there's this random piece of paper in here. Let's take that out. Put the flimsy white fabric back on, then trace out the sole on the bad side of the good fabric. Cut it out with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance all around. Put that aside, then trace and cut out the top piece of the slipper. Does this piece even have a name? It really should. I've just been calling it the flappy piece. Anyways, use some pinking shears to cut the top bit, then leave about an inch seam allowance at the bottom. Add some slits to make folding over the seam allowance a little easier, then pin it in place. Stitch the seam allowance down any way you'd like. I'm going with a simple running stitch because it's the fastest one I can do. Once that's done, flip it over, then pin all the pieces together. Double check to make sure it fits right. If it's too tight or too loose, you can just readjust. Then stitch it all down on the machine. Yeah, it's perfect. Now let's get rid of all this bulk. Just use some pinking shears and trim all that nonsense away. Steam those edges down, then onto the bow we go. I have the perfect scrap piece here, like, look at that, the perfect size. For your reference, the piece is about 13.5 inches long by 6 inches wide. I'm gonna cut out a second rectangle, then fold each of them in half and pin them like this. Stitch along the side, creating tubes, then bag them out. Press it flat with the seam on one side. Attach the ends together like this to create a loop, then fold it in like this and tack it down with a needle and thread. This was rather thick, so I used a pair of pliers to help feed the needle through. I don't think you actually need to do this, but to make sure it's extra secure, I just wrapped the thread around a couple of times. Take a strip, I think mine's about 3/4 inches wide when folded, then wrap it around the middle of the bow and stitch it in place. Make another tube about 9 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. Fold in the raw edges, press it flat, then invisible stitch the opening shut on both ends. Scrunch in the middle like so, then give it a good press at the top to help keep its shape. And there we have it, the bottom of our bow. All that's left to do now is tack the two pieces onto the slipper wherever you think looks right. Then voila, you're done. That's it for this one. I think I did a pretty good job. The only note that I have is that the inside is kind of fraying. What I should have done is this layer here, I should have done double layered, like really just wrapped it in both, like both sides with the blue fabric. I adjusted the outside because I was like, the inside will be fine. Or really just serge the side where I like folded it in. Like here where I folded the fabric in. I should have serged that, but I don't have a serger. I guess double folded it, that would have been fine as well. But yeah, this turned out pretty darn perfect. You ready for the next one? Because the next one's gonna be a little bit more challenging than the first two. You ready? You sure? Okay, let's go. Pillows on my feet. That is all I've ever wanted in life. So today, that is what we're doing. I found this photo on Pinterest of these really cute pink slippers by, I think it's a brand called Bernadette. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to recreate this. I don't think I'm gonna do the whole embroidered flower business thing, but I actually just might put like a rose on it. I don't know if you've seen, but previously I did a couple videos ago, or maybe just a video before this one. I tried recreating a bouquet bag. So I still have a ton of scraps from that, that I plan on using for this project. So in order to match the bag, let me grab it. Ba-bam! I'm gonna make a pair that actually matches this. So I think I'm gonna remake one of these roses, maybe like a smaller version, and put it like right on top. I kind of like how it's not a full slipper, it's like a half slipper over here. But I also don't like slippers where they be showing my toes, because my toes ain't cute. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna do a version where it's just the whole thing. Right now, what I'm gonna do and what I'm kind of stressing about is the kind of puffy bit. I don't have any stuffing, like any polyfill with me. I just went through my grandmother's scraps and found this foam. It's from a mattress, I think, like a corner of a mattress, I don't know. I found a bit of it. So I'm gonna be using this instead of polyfill. If you want to recreate it, I definitely think using polyfill would be the answer because it's easier to sew through. Like if you were to sew this on the machine, because I'm using this, I'm actually gonna hand stitch it down to the like sole of the slipper because this whole thing won't fit through the machine 100%. I will be doing some machine stitching, but just not with this main piece, right? I swear I spend most of my time just staring at the original image, just trying to figure out how, in my brain, breaking down how I'm gonna make the damn thing versus just actually making it, you know? The mental gymnastics you gotta do for DIY projects is crazy. Anyways, let's start with the foam.
Trace the slipper out onto the foam, then cut it out. I used scissors, but I'd recommend an X-Acto knife if you have one so you'd get less of these raggedy edges. Now pick apart the slipper. Trace out the soles onto the bad side of the good fabric, then cut it out with at least 1 inch seam allowance all around. It really depends on how thick your foam is, so adjust the measurement according to what you have.
Since I'm gonna do most of this by hand, I don't want the foam slipping and sliding from the soles, so I'm just gonna put in a couple anchoring stitches, I guess. Just taking needle and thread and just putting it through. Align it so it's right. And then another anchoring stitch right at the bottom. So I'm doing one up here and then one over here. Okay, I don't know why, but I started doing this and forgot to show you what I was doing. So basically what I did is just tuck in the fabric, can you see, underneath the foam, and then started stitching. So now it kind of looks like this. It's not the greatest, but this part will be covered by the ruffling later. Yeah, we essentially just want to secure the sponge in place, and so doing it like this will work out perfectly. I didn't like how the first two slippers, the fabric was on the side of the sole because of the bias tape and wrapping the fabric around the sole. So when you walk around, it's not even. I mean, you can't really feel it. I'm worried that the fabric will fray too much over time and it'll become really dirty. So I think doing it this way is better just in terms of use. I mean, the look isn't as cute, right? Because it's kind of wrinkly and stuff, but you can't really tell. It's on the floor anyways. Like if you're looking from above, you can't see anything, right? So yeah, I don't really think it matters. This is a DIY project. I'm not selling this, so it's fine.
For the top half, we're gonna pin the inner piece onto the bad side of the fabric. Cut it out, leaving at least 1 inch seam allowance all around. Cut some slits onto the bottom half for ease, then use some pinking shears to get rid of that fraying edge. Pin it in place, then stitch that down. Throw that onto the sole, fold the raw edges in, then pin the whole piece in place. Once you've got those edges tucked in all nice and neatly, go ahead and hand stitch all of it down. I used a back stitch because it's the strongest stitch I know. It came out a little ugly, especially with the fold at the tip here, but don't worry, it won't be as visible once we add the ruffles. I grabbed this piece that's exactly 38 inches long. I don't remember how wide. If I had to guess, I'd say like 12 inches wide in total. Cut it into 4 strips about 3 inches wide.
Take 2 strips, good sides facing good sides, and then attach them together to make 1 strip.
You should have a total of 2 long strips, 1 for each slipper. They should be about 3 inches wide by 76 inches long. Press that seam open, then fold the strip in half and press it flat.
Once that's done, bring it back to the machine and put in some gathering stitches. I am going to gather it at 4.5, 4. Gathering stitches, you want it to make it wider. Stitch because you want it to pull, and do not backstitch, okay?
Grab a thread from the top line and one thread from the bottom line. Pull on the fabric until you get to your desired length, which should equal the circumference of your slipper. Pin it in place, then backstitch in between the 2 gathering lines, all the way around. Ta-da! One of the gathering stitches is still visible, so just unpick that whole line, then press your ruffles down. I originally wanted to add a rose so it would match the bouquet bag I made, but it just looks weird, so I'm gonna scrap that idea. And there we have it, folks, the finished product. If I were to make this again, the main thing I do differently is properly finish the fraying edge on the ruffles. Even though it's not super noticeable, once the ruffles are pressed down, after wearing them for a bit, I did notice some loose threads starting to peek out, and honestly, it kind of kills the vibe of the shoe. So if you're trying this yourself, I'd recommend either serging the edges or using some bias binding to clean it up and keep it looking polished. Now, even though this isn't my favorite of the 3 slipper flips I made today, I still really love it, mostly because I managed to put some of that random foam I had lying around to good use. Honestly, that's kind of the whole goal of this channel, and my approach to life really is to see how I can transform things I already have at home into something new and useful instead of just tossing things in the trash. That's all I got for you today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!